So here's the sitch on the ATL Boxscore today. We get into some Braves, some NBA playoff talk to start off the show. And then we have Mike Brumagin from CNN Sports to talk more about the NBA playoffs and the games that have been going on right now or last night. And that pretty much does it for Prostyle Wednesday today. So this is the ATL Boxscore Podcast. This is Atlanta's newest sports podcast, and you're listening to Prostyle Wednesday. With starting a new podcast, people ask me all the time, Alex, where do you record your show at? Do you do it at your house? No, I don't do it at my house because of just a lot of different logistical factors. The place that I do it at is actually a place called Spaces, Midtown East. And Spaces is a co-working center where I get my show recorded and I get other work done. Co-working has been one of these new phenomenons in the private business sector that has popped up recently. And Spaces also has another brand called Regis, which is more of a professional brand. Spaces is more for creators like myself. But to tell you more about these special brands in the business world is Mr. Steve Choi.
Thanks, Alex. I appreciate those kind words. We absolutely love having you and ATL Boxscore as part of our space. It's always great when we see you doing your work. But absolutely, Spaces and the Regis concept, we are both workplace providers here in the Atlanta area, but all around the world. We have over 250 Spaces locations worldwide, plus over 1,500 Regis locations. And what we're really here to do is just provide flexible options for any type of professional, whether you're an independent professional, creative, or if you're a large or small business. So we have several different types of options from small to large and memberships, part-time, full-time. So definitely come on out and check us out. Go ahead and look at the link on Alex's site and ask for Steve Choi. And if you ever come into one of our locations, let us know that Alex sent you or ATL Boxscore, and we'll go ahead and set you up with a free 5-day test drive.
Yeah, you can't beat that 5-day test drive. In those 5 days, you will know if Spaces or Regis is the right brand for you. And Spaces is all over the place. They're a little bit more limited, but they're in the main areas of the city. The one we are is right in the heart of Midtown, near the Fox Theater. There's one at the Battery. There's going to be one opening up North Point Mall there. And there's also a location in Colony Square. So they are all over the metro area. At just about any major business building in the Atlanta area has a Regis in it. So just Google them. But Spaces and Regis and Steve Choi in particular is your place to do your business. I don't know if this is a all right thing, bad thing, but last night I was pretty wiped out, and I'm pretty sure we've all been there before. Because I worked, went to the gym afterwards, and I got back home, and I saw the Braves were tied with the Padres. At that point, I think that was around the 5th or 6th inning when that happened. So I turned to the SEC network, and it's the SEC championship game from last year.
Nice.
Alabama and Georgia. And it's pretty obvious, I'm assuming by this point, that you guys have pretty suspected that I'm a Georgia fan. I'm not gonna, I'm gonna make that extremely obvious. I think I've made that extremely obvious, and I am a Georgia fan. I do love watching Georgia football. And the SEC championship game was on, and I watched it. I turned it off when like Jalen Hurts came in. Then I turned it back on to see what actually happens. So I don't know if that, Steve, I don't know if that's an okay thing or a bad thing or something that plays with, something that has to do with luck or anything like that. But I watched it objectively. I saw where Georgia, that drive, I'll just say this, because it's like, I feel like right now with the spring games being on, people are kind of having that itch. This, like, in the college football calendar right now, this is like a non-football month.
Right.
And do you need to get that?
No, I'm good, buddy. It's a non-football month.
It's a non-football month. And I watched the SEC championship game last night.
That's awesome, buddy.
Is it awesome?
Did you have fun?
I mean,
that just shows how obsessed you are with college football.
It was kind of like this was a game that was on. They had, I'm a fan of offense, so it's like they had a pretty man, I'm just tongue-tied. I'm going to get got my sip of water. It was a good offensive game by Georgia. And so I kind of just wanted to watch and see that. I mean, I knew what happened at the end and everything like that. Now it's kind of like all the emotion has been taken away. All the disappointment has been taken away. And I just watched.
Nice.
In my opinion, I realized it wasn't the Fields fake punt that lost them the game in hindsight.
I didn't think it was, yeah.
It was that drive where they stalled when they were up.
Yeah.
14-28.
Lost all the momentum.
Right, and they scored, which it's like you got no points out of that drive. Even if you got a field goal, I'm pretty sure. Now this is hindsight's 2020, and I get that, and I know people are gonna say, "Oh, there's no way that you couldn't have stopped Tua. Tua eventually got into rhythm, or that Jalen Hurts wanted his opportunity." I know the Alabama side of all that, but we're not here to talk about the Alabama side of that.
No.
It was kind of like
because they won.
Right. But it's like I knew where the Dogs were at fault, and maybe it's good that you got rid of Jim Chaney, because on a critical drive like that, you wanted points. And you didn't get any. It's kind of like, with the Falcons when they were in the Super Bowl. They always go back to that sack that was, that was in the end zone, and Matt Ryan got sacked on third down. Not in the end zone, but it was like on the, it was on the 15 or 10 yard line. Got sacked. End of the drive, they had to punt back to the Patriots, and that's when the Patriots scored on that drive.
Uh-huh.
A lot of people thought with that thing that it's like you shouldn't have Matt Ryan drop back on pass on the 15-yard line. You should have ran the ball,
right,
to get that third down conversion.
That makes sense.
So it's all these what ifs and those type of big type of moments and everything like that. Put in the comments section if what you guys think about watching replays of your team when they like lost critical games that determined their season. Because I'm kind of curious what you guys think of that.
I couldn't do it.
You couldn't do it?
Nah. Like me watching Game 7 when the Warriors lost to Cleveland in the finals, I couldn't do it.
I guess it's just like since it's I get that's a game 7 and everything, but I guess since it's like with football compared to a finals playoff game or that game 7 and finals and everything like that, you had 7 games leading up to that. With football, you only had 1 game.
Sure.
So it's kind of like, what went wrong in this one game?
True. I don't think I could watch. I'm trying to think if there's any. I'm trying to think if there's any like sporting event that I would. I don't like watching sporting events over again anyway. Like unless they're like super throwbacks, like watching the old school Showtime Lakers play Larry Bird Celtics. Like that's kind of fun because I've probably never seen it in the first place. But yeah, no,
I'm probably get it on YouTube.
Yeah, no, for sure. But I'm not really go and rewatch. I'm not even really a rewatch a movie multiple times type of guy.
Really?
I mean, there are a few.
What about like Star Wars?
Yeah, well, so the thing about Star Wars for me was when I was growing up, and we just got like HBO or Showtime. I think it was HBO, and it was always on. So of course, it was like the best thing to watch out of whatever would happen to be on as a kid. We had limited cable, and so I watched a lot. And then when I would fall asleep, I'd watch it when because it's how it is on HBO. It's like there's like back in that day, it was like on every day and random hours, like late night sometimes, and every time you just turn on, it's like, man, they're playing Return of the Jedi again. How awesome was that?
When TBS had like the rights to Star Wars.
Yeah, just stuff like that. But like, if you were to tell me like, oh, hey, let's go ahead and watch. Let's put it this way: I watched The Last Jedi twice. I actually watched it twice in the theater, and then I watched it again when I got the DVD, the Blu-ray.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, I mean, but that's extraordinary. But yeah, for sporting events, for sure, I'm not.
I usually like to watch the replays of when Georgia wins big moments.
Yeah, I mean, you're good. I mean, you have that mind where you're breaking down stuff.
Right, and I'm kind of curious, like, what happened, especially when it's like. Because like forget the Sugar Bowl for what happened in that game. It's like a lot of Georgia people will tell you. And we had Rob say on this show a couple weeks ago before like G-Day,
right?
And his thought process was that it's like once Georgia lost the SEC championship, they most likely lost to Texas too,
right? Because
it was just a big letdown. It was like. Because I'm kind of just like with that, it was like the wind just left the sails. It was like the wind got knocked out of the sails for that program.
That makes sense.
So yeah, just comment in the comment section if you replay sports games, especially crucial ones that your team lost. I know. I think a lot of us will watch things that our team won, like the '82 national championship, the 1990 game against Colorado, or that Game 7 in the World Series in 1995.
Well, what's cool about what you're doing also is you have a mindset like a coach or an athlete, where the only way to learn is to watch what you did wrong.
Right.
And that's why.
Well, like I said, it was like the emotion got took out of it. And it was kind of just like.
You're not on edge and you know what's going to happen.
Right, exactly. There are no surprises.
Right. Exactly.
I usually do this around this time of year if something's on like that.
That's cool. Hey, I don't mind. I was busy watching the actual games.
Oh, your actual games, yeah. By the way, on YouTube, you can get Celtics 1985, the 60-point game that Larry Bird scored.
Wow.
You can get the 1984 NBA Finals Game 7.
Wow. I guess I know what I'm doing today.
You get Larry Bird's
hold
greatest.
my calls, please. I'm going to be away for a while.
Yeah, you do need to call service. You do need a secretary for the job you do. So anyways, Braves didn't have that great of a night, but since you had a great night, let's start with positive things. Yeah, how was your night watching your Golden State Warriors?
It was awesome,
Go
man.
2 games up.
It was awesome. I mean, it was a good game. It was a dramatic game. Both Harden and Curry had like injuries, I guess. I mean, not I guess. They actually had injuries. What was funny was, so I was watching with my buddy Dave, who he tends to be a contrarian. So the way I define contrarians are people who have to go against whatever your point of view is, even though that they don't really care. They just do it anyway.
I
know.
People frustrate me.
I know. So basically,
It's like, just support me.
thank you. You get it, right?
Just
So
support me.
this is a big game, and he has no skin in the game because he doesn't really watch NBA. He's not really from the Bay, even though he spent half his life in the Bay. But so anyway, so
just the glory years.
So yeah, but either way, so like Draymond slapped James Harden in the face, going for a ball, and that's when he hurt his eyes. So for like the next like 10 minutes, like Dave's talking about, oh man, that was like that was a crappy play, like that was bad. His eyes are gonna be hurt, and I'm worried about this guy. I'm like, why are you worried about James Harden? Like, I don't, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not, like, obviously, yes, I don't want to see the guy go blind or something.
Right.
At the same time, like, you can.
He gets fixated on that, like, random thing.
Oh, God. It was just, and I was like, really, man? I started getting so upset because I wish I recorded myself. I started screaming at the television every time, because after that we started going on a little bit of a run, and I was like, yeah, and I would look at Dave. I'm like, that's on you, in your face, like he was a Rockets fan. Because I'm like, why are you supporting this dude?
Was it one of those things? Because I didn't see it because it was just too late. Would they always like pan back to James Harden?
Yeah, so it was basically he went to the locker room. He went to the locker room for a while.
But still, when they bring him back, and then
and then he's always blinking and stuff. He was like, I'm still hurt.
Right, like this is the reason why.
Yeah,
the Rockets
but the dude was
lost.
still canning 3-pointers and didn't miss a free throw, but his eyes were supposedly blurry the whole time.
That's impressive, though.
If that's true.
Yeah, if that's true, like if you know,
who's ever gonna tell you that your eyes are blurry? Who can ever prove to you that it's not?
My eyes are blurry right now because
I wouldn't know. I'll take your word for it.
My eyes are kind of blurry right now. But still, like, that's impressive because I know what it's like to be, like, your eyes are blurry. You know a basketball court that well that you can just do that.
Right. If it's true. How about this? I can't hear anymore.
Did any of those other games last night get your attention?
So the other game was Celtics versus the Bucks, which was a good game. Celtics kept it close in the first half, and the Bucks opened up in the third. But what's interesting is Kyrie Irving didn't have a good game at all, and man, the Bucks were just canning 3-pointer after 3-pointer. I was surprised. I was like, wow, they were just like couldn't miss. So I don't know. You know how it's always hard to predict these things because everything changes from one game to the other. You feel good about, if you're a Celtics fan, you feel good about the fact they stole one in Milwaukee, and now they're in position to have home court advantage. But heck, you never know. Game 3, Milwaukee comes in and blows them out. You never know.
Right. The Braves, on the other hand,
How'd you feel about the Braves, buddy?
They had a rough night last night. I mean, right away you have Reyes that just hits a home run off of gosh, why am I just screwing this up right now? Off of Teheran. And then the Braves. I mean, the Braves kept it competitive though. Coming back, I mean, at one point, it was a 2-2. The game was tied, and unfortunately, the Braves never led the whole game. But it just really sucked. Just from a standpoint that you already lost to these. Yeah, you already lost to these guys twice, and once before this one. Now you lost twice, and yeah, it's just not good losing at home like that.
No, well, again, it's early on. I think the Braves.
I mean, from what I'm hearing from like what's going on with Johnny Venters might be back any day now.
Mm-hmm.
That's at least what the paper's saying, and that he's doing good things in Gwinnett because of an injury. You also have Newcomb that's doing things in Gwinnett. So right now it just kind of depends on.
You know what else is out there?
What's that?
Craig Kimbrell still hasn't been signed.
Yeah, Craig Kimbrell still hasn't been signed. But it's one of those that might not happen on the Braves end. I mean, I think they're still in the sweepstakes, but they don't want to give up that much money right now.
Gotcha.
When you're investing in young talent like Vizcaino, for example, and
Gotcha.
that's why they weren't interested in the first place, because they had a guy like that. They have other couple guys like that, but they're all on the DL,
right?
And now it's like this bullpen is just, I mean, it's just young. I mean, you have Mike Foltywitz that's doing things and getting good production, but it's like everyone else. The ones that are the ones that are like when Johnny Venters comes back, it'll be a stable bullpen for a closer, because they don't have any problems with their starters except for Teheran, but let's just face it, Teheran is just he's Teheran. When it looks great, it looks great. When it looks bad, it looks bad.
Looks terrible.
Like last night when he just like the first, I think it was the first at bat, just hits over, just homers it out of the plate. Yeah, Reyes was like the Braves' killer last night.
Gotcha.
Dude hit 3 home runs.
That's crazy, man. I mean, look, the Padres are supposed to be decent with old boy.
Well, apparently they have they have batters that can go yard.
Manny Machado, dog. Look, I don't know. I mean, we'll see. I think Braves have a solid core and a foundation to build on. I think it's all good things to look forward to. But let's talk about this in let's call it August or July. If they're still having these same issues, then it's probably not going to be a good look. But at this early in the season, I'm kind of like, there's just so much time.
You know what was even sadder though?
What's that?
This was like Brandon's first game.
Oh, he went to the game?
Yeah, he went to the game by himself, I think.
Oh, sorry, Brandon.
Brandon, comment in the comment section if you went to the game by yourself or you had someone with you.
And if you ever go by yourself again, I live like 2 miles down the road. You can always just let me know.
Well, he also lives, he actually lives closer to the ballpark than you do.
Oh, does he?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, cool. So, Tailgating at his
They
place.
don't want to tell you where he lives on air.
No, that's fine. But tailgate at his place.
Well, it's actually just like it's an apartment complex.
That's all we need to know. We don't need anything else.
It kind of lives like near that Chick-fil-A over there off of behind the Battery.
Gotcha.
In that area, I'm just gonna put it like that. He's gonna be killing me now that I'm like broadcasting where he lives.
Okay, so I live somewhere else too. So
yeah, you live somewhere else near where that secret society is, and
there you go.
And that McDonald's that just got.
Wow. Why don't we just go ahead and tell everybody where we live? Okay. We'll start with where Alex lives first. How about that one?
I was gonna say I live near North Fulton Hospital.
Nice.
You know where Whitney Houston's daughter, when she had to go into the hospital. Yeah, that was the hospital that.
Okay. I was about to say you were going to say you lived near where they found her body. Because I think it was in Roswell.
It was in Roswell. Yep, she lived in Roswell.
This took a real morbid turn, but
this did. But hey, I mean,
go Dubs.
Not a lot of people know in Atlanta where North Fulton Hospital is for some reason.
I couldn't tell you where it was at either.
So, but that's like the huge landmark in like the area where I live.
When I moved to Atlanta, people were like, "Oh, the way we give directions here is by landmarks, like drive down, turn right at the Big Chicken." And I didn't know what the Big Chicken was.
You didn't know what the Big Chicken was?
So I was like, okay, I'm not in Kansas anymore, Dorothy. Because it's like, you turn right at the Big Chicken. So in my mind, I'm like, there's some yard or some farm or something where there's like some giant chicken clucking around. And you're supposed to locate this Big Chicken to know where to turn right at. So I just thought it was super crazy. Then when I finally saw the Big Chicken, I was like, okay, that's a Big Chicken.
So were you amazed or surprised?
I thought it was kind of cool that there was a big chicken. I still haven't eaten there. I would like to say I ate at the Big Chicken, but
I've ate at the Big Chicken before.
Have you? But it was interesting because I was like, oh, okay, so this is the Big Chicken.
One of my friends said one time that it's like I hope that he could like. Every time he opens his beak, that it's like fire can just like come out.
That would be sick. That would be super sick.
But it's like that thing's not designed to.
No.
The way the beak like rotates out is not designed. Well, they remodeled it, so.
They did remodel it. I think they just remodeled the restaurant portion.
They redid it.
Oh, they redid the chicken too.
Yeah, I mean they spruced it up and everything.
Okay,
and changed some things.
I haven't seen it.
I do know like the history behind it though, because it used to be like a random restaurant
with the chicken.
With the chicken,
and then they made it a KFC.
And then like it went out of business. Then KFC bought it.
Oh, okay. So was it called the Big Chicken?
It was called the Big Chicken, I think.
So awesome.
If you know
things you learn being around Alex is pretty awesome. He knows Atlanta well.
Well, I want to research stuff. Kind of like I wanted to know, like I was like watching the SEC championship and wondering what went wrong. Like,
do you know? I guess I know why. Never mind.
What can I say?
It was a stupid question. I was gonna ask you, do you know why they call it 5 points?
Because there are 5 roads that intersect.
Nice. Oh, so silly. So silly.
You know, I knew a girl in high school that thought 5 points in downtown Atlanta was little 5 points in Virginia Highlands.
So tell me the difference between what's little 5 points versus 5 points. I mean, besides the obvious.
I don't know if I could say that. I don't know if I want to say that on air.
What's the reason why they call it little 5 points? Is there also 5 roads that
there are 5 roads that intersect at that one point.
It's just a smaller area than the one in downtown Atlanta.
And
that's fine. No, that's a good answer. Good answer. If anybody who knows Atlanta knows you want to go to little 5 points and not necessarily to 5 points. And I think that's all that needs to be said about that.
you want to go to like Little 5 Points to get a tattoo or some other things
right.
of that type of lifestyle.
Yeah, that Bohemian Rhapsody.
And you go to, then you just don't want to go to 5 Points after 9 o'clock at night
I get you.
in downtown Atlanta.
Yeah. I've been to 5 Point.
That's the difference between both of them.
Yeah, sad. But hey, it's history.
Not necessarily sad, but
It's just the facts.
it's just how life is.
Sure.
Like, yeah, like when you're going up against guys that can go yard on you,
Right.
and you have a pitcher that's kind of so-so.
Makes sense.
That especially Reyes, I think was one to get his home runs in. Well, with that being said, this was fun, by the way, buddy.
Glad you liked it, buddy.
It's kind of like coming into work and I'm like, but you helped liven it up.
I appreciate that, buddy. Can't
So-
wait for your special guest coming up.
Yeah. I have Mike Brumagin coming on from CNN Sports. We get into more of the NBA conversation.
Ask him about the Dubs.
Steve just got it started.
Go Dubs.
And, that's coming up next. By the way, also, too, the Spaces advertisement that you heard at the beginning of the show, if you're interested in that, they have a promotion going on. Use promo code Alex. You'll get 15% off your purchase of a 12-month agreement with them. So be sure to check out Spaces and Regis. And be sure to also like, comment, and subscribe if you like the conversation we're having right now, just about the Braves, NBA playoffs, or even if you're one of those fans like I am that will watch replays of games during like critical times of your program or team's history, you could say, put that in the comment section because we'd love to hear from that. And put that in the comment section because we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to get your thoughts and everything like that. By the way, too, at the end of the show, just to stay tuned, I have all the names of the horses in the Kentucky Derby.
Wow, that should be.
I'm gonna name them
I
off.
can't wait, buddy.
I'm gonna name them off to you, and you just tell me what you think.
All right, that's gonna be fun.
And then, to me, they're easy to read. So, with that being said, now we're going to bring on Mike Brumagin to the conversation. Well, now we want to bring to the conversation Mr. Mike Brumagin from CNN Sports. Mike, how are you doing today, man?
I'm doing all right, man. Doing all right.
Nice. So, I guess let's just jump right into it with the playoffs. Last night was a big night, especially for the Houston Golden State series. You also had Boston and Milwaukee. Yeah, Milwaukee play last night, and I just want to get your thoughts. What are your thoughts so far on this second round that pretty much started on Sunday or Saturday?
Well, I mean, it started, Saturday with, I believe it was Philadelphia, Toronto, and Golden State, Houston started on Saturday, if I remember right. No, it's been wildly entertaining. A lot of up and downs, specifically on the east side. Both of those series are tied 1-1 already. And the interesting thing with both of those series is from game 1 to game 2 in both of those series, totally different outcomes, totally different styles of play. Like in game 1 between Toronto and Philadelphia, it looked like Philadelphia had no real answer. You know, like they didn't know what they were doing. They're totally outmatched. A big part of the problem is their best player, Joel Embiid, he's been fighting a knee injury all year ever since the All-Star break. So that plays a huge part in that. But then in Game 2, so, they lost Game 1 to Toronto pretty convincingly, and then in Game 2, they clamped down on defense, and basically they changed their philosophy defensively. Instead of worrying about Kawhi Leonard, they're like, look, we're not going to try to double team Kawhi Leonard. We're not going to, go out of our way to try to worry about him. What we're going to do is we're going to shut down Pascal Siakam, and we're going to try to shut down the other guys and see if Kawhi can beat us by himself. And he couldn't. I don't know that that's sustainable. I don't know if they have the bodies or the depth to be able to do that for a full series, but they won that game. The other thing about that is Jimmy Butler, because Embiid is limited offensively because of his knee. Jimmy Butler picked up a lot of the slack and carried the team offensively. And I don't know if that's sustainable because he's been very inconsistent throughout the whole season. So I still don't really think that Philadelphia is going to be able to come out of that series. I think Toronto is going to win that series because they have more depth, they're healthier, and they play more consistently. But at the very least, it looks like we can at least have an entertaining series, which nobody likes watching a one-sided series where it's all where it's a sweep with nothing but blowouts.
Right.
So that was really good for fans to have like the tide turn and get some pushback from Philadelphia. And then with Milwaukee and Boston, you got Game 1 in Milwaukee. Milwaukee's got the top seed with home court, and they gave it up. They got out physical, which is odd because there's a bigger, longer team. But Boston really took it to Giannis Antetokounmpo. He didn't have a good game. That first game, Giannis only had 22 points, but on very poor shooting, 41%, which is, for a guy who does nothing but attack the basket, that's actually really low percentage for him. He usually in the high 50s, some 50s to low 60s from the field, because he gets most of his buckets in around the basket. So his stats sound decent, 22 points, 8 rebounds. It was actually a very off night for him. And it was mostly because they were throwing bodies at him. They were being physical, and they were making him think twice about trying to attack the basket. He had 4 shots in a row where he went to the basket and missed on some attempts, and so it just wasn't his best night. But the funny thing is, after that, going into Game 2, they asked him if he was going to have any adjustments, and he said before Game 2, no adjustments. And of course, the team itself had adjustments, but Giannis didn't make any adjustments. His whole mentality was getting back to how he had played all season, which was attacking the basket, and he looked like Giannis of old. 28 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists. Just going at it. What was it? 29 points. But
I heard his brother told him
relentlessly.
I heard his brother told him that because he asked advice from his brother, and his brother told him to play harder.
Yeah, he was attacking, just nonstop, going at the basket. And one of the things that he did is, so in the first game, they would let Boston, they played at a slower pace, and they let Boston kind of, get set defensively. And in Game 2, before Boston could even get set defensively, he's going at the basket. He's taking advantage of them not being in place and attacking. And he was doing a better job of reading the defense, seeing where if the double team was trying to come from the right, then he'd attack and drive to the left. So he did a better job reading the defense and attacking accordingly.
Mm-hmm.
He shot like 18 free throws, so he was definitely getting to the free throw line, forcing them to foul. He had a really great night.
Mm-hmm.
He got support from Chris Middleton in game 2. Chris has been pretty consistent. 16 points in game 1, almost triple-double with 10 rebounds with 6 assists, but in game 2 he had 28 points. Really showed out.
Right.
He held it down in the first half while Giannis was still trying to figure out how to attack. Chris was huge in the first half, and then third quarter they blew it out. Like they went on a 31-10 run in the third quarter. So they flipped the script in that third quarter, and just it wasn't even a game after that. So it's gonna be interesting seeing going forward. In game 3 in Boston, how is Boston going to respond? How are they going to be able to respond to Giannis? How are they going to be able to respond to Milwaukee? Because basically one of the things that Milwaukee did is they switched at times in the game. They brought in an all-big lineup. They had like 4 bigs on the floor, but their bigs can shoot. Brook Lopez can hit threes. Nikola Mirotic can hit threes. So it forces them to spread the floor. So not only are their players getting beat up because they got bigger players switching on defense and being physical and forcing Kyrie to have to shoot over taller players, which really frustrated him. Kyrie only had 9 points in game 2.
Wow.
But so not only were they bigger and they're causing problems defensively, but then they can shoot threes. So on offense, it's spreading the floor. They have to respect those guys' shooting ability, which opens it up for Giannis to attack the basket even more. So how are they going to adjust to that? What can they do to combat that kind of lineup?
Right.
So that's going to be interesting, chess match to watch in game 3.
Mm-hmm.
And then, we look at Golden State Houston. I don't think Houston – I'm starting to think they're not going to win a game.
Really? So you think they're going to just get blown out?
Both the first 2 games have been relatively close, and the biggest one was 6 points in game 2. But and they've been in it. They've been competitive. But the problem is they're throwing some of their best stuff at Golden State, and Golden State is still winning. And the hard part is Golden State's best lineup. They're starting with their best lineup. They're coming out the gates with their Hampton Fives lineup, which is Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant. Draymond Green, Andre Iguodala, Klay Thompson, and Steph Curry. That's their best 5 players, and they're bringing them out in their starting lineup and opening out the gates in the first quarter with big leads, forcing Houston to have to play from behind. And that's to Houston's detriment. Like, they're not doing a good job. Like, we look at game 2 last night. They got behind by 15 points early in the first quarter. They won the second. They outscored Golden State in every other quarter. It just wasn't ever enough. They didn't outscore them by enough to overcome that initial 15-point deficit in the first quarter.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they got to find a way to get out the gates and play better in the first quarter, and they're just not doing it.
Do you think that with
Golden State through 2 games, Golden State has played their Hampton 5 lineup 48 minutes. So pretty much half of the minutes they've played in 2 games. They've played that starting 5 lineup. And when they've played that lineup, they are plus 15.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that when
they played?
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, would James? We're stuck in. I was just gonna ask, with James Harden being out, even if he was playing in this in these next couple of games, you still think that there's going to be a sweep?
He's not out though.
I thought he got injured last night.
He got his eye scraped, but he still played. He got his eye scraped in the first quarter. He still scored. 29 points. Like he played through it. He actually played better after he got his eye scraped. And they got a few days rest. But the next game isn't going to be till Saturday, so he should be 100% by the time they play again.
Gotcha. So, did you think that this Rockets Warriors matchup was gonna be competitive?
Yeah, I actually was hoping that Houston could make a go of it and try to, because they pushed them. They went 7 games with them last year, and had Chris Paul not got injured, they very well could have won that series last year. So I was hoping to see a competitive series. I was looking forward to trying to see Houston, get the upset. But it's not looking like that's going to. Time tells. We still got to see how they respond in Game 3. If they come out like gangbusters in Game 3, and they dominate Game 3 from the outset, that could change things. That definitely could change the narrative. But as things are looking right now, like they've been giving them some of their best shots, and Golden State is still coming out with the win. So it's not looking like they're going to be able to pull it out. But you never know. I mean, they can always adjust their strategy or try something different and see if they can rattle that starting 5 lineup of Golden State.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
One of the things that's really helping Golden State is it's from regular season to now, it looks like Draymond Green has lost like 15, 20 pounds. He looks a lot lighter. He's moving easier, and he's contributing much better on offense. Throughout most of the regular season, he was shooting like trash. Like he was nothing but the broad side of the backboard, horrible bricks. And now he's actually making shots.
Mm-hmm.
That helps tremendously. And throughout most of the season, Andre Iguodala looked like he was getting ready to retire. He looked like he didn't belong on the court anymore. Like he looked really old. And somehow in the playoffs, he looks springy. He's jumping. He's leading the league in dunks. He has the most dunks through the playoffs of anyone, more than even Giannis Antetokounmpo. This dude who looked like he was, ready to retire is now jumping all over the place getting dunks. So somehow he's wound the clock back on his career, and the two of them look like totally different players from how they were playing in the regular season. It's actually kind of remarkable. And then you look at Portland-Denver series. Denver's up 1-0. They should be playing Game 2 tonight, unless some tragedy happens, and the arena explodes or something, and they have to relocate the game to another day, another time, at another place. But it's not that it was like a huge blowout or anything, but Denver was pretty much in control of Game 1 from start to finish. It doesn't really look like Portland matches up well with Denver. They don't have the size to match up that well. They're already coming in without Yusuf Nurkic, and add to that, their backup big Enes Kanter. He's playing hurt, so he's not able to really contend that well. And even if he wasn't hurt, he's got nothing for Jokic. Nikola Jokic is just killing it. Like he looks like the bomb diggity right now, and they got no answer for that guy.
Mm-hmm.
So it's looking like Denver is gonna skate through this first round.
And so it should be a Warriors Nuggets Eastern Conference Finals. Western Conference.
Yeah.
I screwed that up. I can't believe I screwed that up. Western Conference Finals.
That's what it's looking like. It's looking going to be Denver and Golden State in the Western Conference Finals. And my pick in the East, I would probably go, if we're picking in-game scenario here, I'll go Milwaukee and Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
Top 2 seeds for both conferences. They're just that much better.
Which out of those 2 series in the East, I was looking at the East when I said when I meant West. But those two games in the East right now, do you think any of them are going to go to a 6 or 7 game playoff?
I think Philly Toronto could go 6. Boston Milwaukee could go 7.
Mm-hmm.
Both teams are well coached. Both teams are very deep. They match up well. They each has strengths that the other team that cause problems for the other team. So it's just I think Milwaukee, because Giannis is just that much better. As long as he's attacking the basket and relentlessly, he's going to carry that team. But they match up well, and they both are that deep. It could and should be a 7-game series.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel like the Boston could match up well with Philadelphia or Toronto?
Boston could. They got the kind of depth and talent. They can match up with anybody. They can match up with Golden State. And you look at their top guys. You got Kyrie Irving, who could go toe to toe with Steph Curry. Not going to go shoot the 3 like Steph Curry, but Steph Curry can't finish at the rim like Kyrie can. Like, they both have their strengths that they're like phenomenal at. And then you got guys like Jaylen Brown, who's playing really good in this series. He's 19 points game 1, 16 points game 2. Tatum is playing really poorly right now, but I think that's more to do with the matchups. They are being real physical with him, and he's not used to that, and he's not responding very well to it, but he's fully capable of scoring 15 to 20 points a game. Horford is playing really well. He's got 20 points first game, 15 points second game. And then they got, Gordon Hayward, who's on a max contract. He's a max level player. He's playing okay, but he's capable of scoring as much as 30. So they got guys on their squad who can, ramp up to, 30 plus points, all down their lineup. And then they got guys on their bench who can come in and add like 10, 15 points here and there. They can totally fill out a box score and just reel off a 120-point game with ease. But they're also very good at defense. If they commit to it, they can clamp down and they can hold teams to under 100 points. So they're capable of matching up with anybody. The teams that they'll struggle the most with are obviously going to be Milwaukee and probably Denver because of the height. They don't match up well against big teams, which is why I think Milwaukee's going to be able to come out of this series. That's one of the factors that kind of gives them an advantage. But I think in a Golden State series, Boston, because Golden State doesn't have a ton of height. Their best big player is Kevin Durant.
Right.
So, they don't have a ton of huge bodies that they can throw around in the post. They got some tall guys that they can throw in there to pick up fouls, but they're not going to be threats. So, Boston could take Golden State, I think, to 6 or 7 games if they were in the finals. But, Boston's no slouch.
Right. Well, that pretty much covers it for the playoffs. But I just want to ask,
who are your picks?
Who are my picks? I would probably say Golden State and the Nuggets, and the East is it's funny, the East, it was total blowout city, just from a series standpoint. But now it seems like the East is going to be really competitive trying to get out of the second round. I would probably say Toronto and Milwaukee just to go safe. Yeah, just for safe picks. Because I think that Toronto and Milwaukee series, if they're in the Eastern Conference Finals, I think that would be entertaining. So, but I wanted to kind of play a little bit game with you. This is going to be an off-key question, but how many times have you seen Avengers Endgame since it came out?
Twice.
Twice. Okay. Since you're really familiar with that, I want to just play this kind of game with the NBA. You pretty much talked about the teams that you thought are going to advance into the playoffs. Just from a team perspective, where teams are at right now, I'm talking about not the teams that are in the playoffs anymore, but I'm talking more about expanding it out to the teams that aren't in the playoffs. Which teams do you feel like are in the end game? Like they used to be good, now they're on the decline.
Well, I think you definitely got to say that for Milwaukee. And like a year ago, they were good, but they weren't great. And this year they're the top team in the East, and they look like it. They feel like it. And I think a big part of that is Coach Budenholzer. The addition of Coach Bud, he brings to them, a savviness to the X's and O's that they didn't have before. And that helps to keep the team rooted. They have a system that works offensively, and they know what they have to do defensively to clamp down and shut teams down. So that, I feel like he's the X factor that really brought the team over.
Gotcha.
The other team, well, I feel like we're talking in-game. Golden State is Thanos. Like they're the big bad who won. Because they're the defending champs, and you think Infinity War. Thanos won Infinity War,
right?
So he was the previous victor, and now everybody's trying to come gunning for Thanos to try to throw him off and get the Infinity Stones. Likewise, Golden State won last year and the year before, and everybody wants to try to throw them off and take the championship, which would be the Infinity Gauntlet for themselves.
Right.
So I would say they're Thanos in the end game because they're the defending champs. And honestly, I don't think anybody in the West is going to be able to throw them off right now. Right. They're playing really well.
Right.
And the best threat to me is going to come from the East, which hadn't really happened in a while. Not since LeBron James on the Cavs in 2016.
Okay, those are two good teams to talk about. From a player's perspective, who do you feel like is in the end game?
Man, that's hard to try to get into without wanting to give away spoilers for the movie.
I see. Okay. Or at least, like, who do you think
talk
is
about
that,
people
like,
who died and stuff.
At least, like, from a perspective of who do you think is going, like, who's at like the end of their careers that you feel like that are going to be giving it up in the next, like, year or two?
I could see Andre Iguodala, hanging it up in another year or two.
Okay.
Especially if this off season Kevin Durant leaves and goes to another team, and that pretty much kind of ends their dynasty, I could see him hanging it up. He wouldn't have anything else to play for. At that point, he'd have 4 championships. You can retire and go out on top. There's not really anybody else on any of these teams
would he be like Iron Man?
Would be retiring. No, because he's never really been, like, in his prime in his youth. He was probably that good. He was like all-star caliber player, but that didn't last long. He had injuries, so I wouldn't put him on that level. He's more like Ant-Man.
Okay.
Except Ant-Man isn't retiring.
Yeah, Ant-Man isn't retiring. So like Ant-Man, but not retiring.
Yeah. Yeah, but I don't really see anybody else. I mean, you're gonna have some player movement. Kawhi Leonard's gonna be a free agent. So he'll be changing teams probably. Kevin Durant and Klay Thompson can both be, moving on to other teams if they want to. Because that could throw off, the balance of power. But retirement, like, really the only person who's a possibility is probably Iguodala.
What about Vince Carter?
I mean, he's not in the playoffs.
No, I'm talking all over the board. I'm sorry if I didn't preference that. I'm talking
No, I
all.
thought we were talking about the playoffs.
No. We're talking all over the board.
I don't think Vince is going to retire. I mean, he said in interviews that he'll try to keep playing for as long as his body will let him.
But do you think this?
I think he'll probably.
But do you
I
think
think
this next
he's
season?
got another year or two.
Right. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I
So
think he's got a whole another year or two.
That's what I was trying to figure out. If you think like
Nah.
next season will be like the
Question is he going to come back to the Hawks? You know, like maybe he tries to go somewhere else. Who knows?
Right. Is there any other players off the top of your head? I know I'm throwing this out at you, but I know you're good, so I wouldn't do this if you weren't good. But is there any players that you can think of that are like in the end game, like the end of their careers?
No, and the only ones that come to mind are the ones that we already knew about, like Dwayne Wade and Dirk.
Gotcha.
And
Okay.
of course Carmelo, and he hasn't played all season, so his retirement is kind of forced upon him. He still has never officially said he was retiring, but nobody wants him. So
Okay, let me throw a last category at you in the end game, and this doesn't have to be totally related to the Avengers, but I just like throwing that name around, the end game. Coaches that are possibly in the end game. I'm not talking about that it's like, I'm not talking about new coaches getting hired, but I'm talking about coaches that are going to be on the hot seat this upcoming season.
this upcoming season,
Yes, this upcoming season.
I think Philadelphia, Brett Brown.
Okay.
If they don't have a breakthrough year, because like both they last year, this year, they've been in the playoffs, but both times it's looking like they're gonna get put out of the playoffs again this year. It's not all his fault, you can't control injuries, but if they have another year next year where they're not really like the top team, they're not really looking like they're going to contend, I think they'll look to move on from Brett Brown.
What about Greg
I
Popovich?
could see. Oh no, he just signed a 3-year extension.
Okay.
He's good. he's not going anywhere.
Okay. What was the other name you were going to say?
I was going to say with Houston, I can see where if they don't, because if they get swept out this year, and then they come back next year, and odds are they're not going to be able to be as good next year as they were this year unless they make drastic improvements in the offseason, which they're not going to be able to make huge improvements because they're going to be, they're going to be limited by the cap. So they come back next year and they have a worse season next year than this year. I could see Mike D'Antoni getting cut loose.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, those are both teams in the top 4 in their respective conferences, between Philadelphia and Houston. But I think both of those guys, depending on what their teams do next year, could be on the hot seat.
Right. Do you feel like anyone in New Orleans organization is going to be on the hot seat?
That's not really. They shouldn't be, because they're getting a new. They just got a new GM/president this offseason with David Griffin. So I don't think that they would be looking to have him on the hot seat in the first year of a new general manager.
Right.
I think they'll try to give him a few years to get his people in place, try to build the team he wants to build it before they start trying to fire more people.
Right. Because I just remember that situation with Anthony Davis and how it just turned into a mess.
Yeah, but that wasn't on his watch. That happened with the previous general manager. So,
Right.
they've hired him, and their expectation is first they're going to try to see if he can convince Anthony Davis to want to stay. He's under contract, so they have no obligation to trade him. But if he can convince him to want to stay next year, that would be a huge win for the team. The risk there then is that he could still choose to leave as a free agent at the end of next season.
Gotcha.
But at least that would buy them more time to try to make a deal or find the best possible deal.
Uh-huh.
So it gives him more time and flexibility to try to work. But it's not his mess. He didn't create the mess. So no matter how it pans out, nobody's going to blame him for it.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to give him some leeway. They're going to give him at least 3 or 4 years to try to build the team the way he wants, shape it how he wants, and see how that works. So their first step is they got to hope that they get a good draft pick.
Gotcha.
The lottery is on the 14th. So once we have that lottery on the 14th, we're going to see where the ping pong balls are falling and who gets what pick.
The 14th
And
of
that's
this month?
May 14th. That's the NBA draft lottery.
Okay, that's a Tuesday. All right, cool.
Yeah, they usually do it. So they'll probably have depending on where the playoff series are at. Usually in the past, they'll have 2 games on that day, and then they'll do the draft in between. So that's how they usually do it. They'll have the draft lottery in between the 2 games.
Right.
But we'll see. It depends on what games they got going. But they always do it on a night that TNT hosts, so they can have it on TNT.
Gotcha. Well, I know down
TNT
here
has basketball on Tuesdays.
Right. Well, I know down here we'll be crossing our fingers to see if we can get in that number 1 draft pick.
Everybody's gonna be crossing their fingers.
Everyone that cares about the Hawks, at least. So, well, thank you, Mike, for coming on the show today, and always appreciate you coming on. Just talking NBA hoops. Where can we reach you at on social media?
At Brumagin on Twitter.
Nice. Well, cool. Well, thanks for coming on the show. Well, like
All right,
we
man.
said, we were going to end the show with something that's going on this weekend that is the most, I think it's exciting minute in sports or 2 minutes in sports.
Oh, buddy.
Oh, buddy. Reminds you of something else, doesn't it?
Whoa.
Okay, so there you go. The Kentucky Derby is this weekend, and when I always watch the Kentucky Derby, because I don't really read any articles about it until today, actually, with something that kind of came across my desk that I thought was pretty funny. They had in the AJC all the names of all the horses, which, if you don't know the Kentucky Derby, you know that it's you have random names like Man Award and Seabiscuit, even though that's named after a movie, just throwing that out there. These names that you wouldn't name people, but for some reason you want to name adjectives a horse.
Right.
Rich people, what are they thinking?
I mean, it's a hobby. They have nothing else better to do. Skull and crossbones, whatever. Okay.
Because it's like they just put a bunch of adjectives in a name in a hat and then just shake it around.
Sure.
This name, this hat will be. I mean, this name.
I'm hoping someone just puts their phone number on their necks. 770-434-1222 is winning the race, and here they come.
And if you need a used car, new used car,
right.
So, anyways,
www.
Something's going through my mind. I don't really want to say on air.
It all started with that 2 minute and most exciting minute in sports, right?
Right. Right.
So you're going to get your mint julep?
Probably not. It's also Cinco de Mayo on Saturday, if any of you guys aren't aware.
It's almost the same song. What a coincidence.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Maybe they should all fall on the same day. So, at the beginning of this list, and it just has like the betting odds, but I'm more interested in the names.
All right, hit me with the names.
You have War of Will.
Okay. Sounds like an old person's horse.
21 to 1 odds.
Okay.
You have Tax.
Tax.
Literally, like TAX.
Okay. Again, sounds like some old person, another rich person's
Right.
horse. That's all I can think of.
Right, who was an accountant for so many years.
We know it's not Donald Trump's horse because he doesn't pay taxes. But anyways.
Whoa.
Genius.
Yeah, you pissed off somebody.
Yeah.
And
sorry.
Then someone was clapping. Yeah.
Sorry, Ivanka.
So, I like that Steve Choi. Someone's like that. Anyways.
I'm here for the fans, folks.
Then you have By My Standards. Now, this is like a really rich person's name.
Yeah.
By My Standards.
Right. By my standards.
So, no one's lived up to your standards.
Right.
20 to 1 odds. You have Gray Magician.
Okay. Gray Magician. Okay.
That's 50 to 1 odds.
Okay.
You have how does that work? The V1.
Oh, that's interesting. Vacloma.
Okay.
Sounds like a scientist, some kind of new cancer or something. I've just discovered I have Vacloma.
20 to 1 odds. Maximum Security. Like what?
Whoa. Somebody's again another Donald Trump horse.
Or maybe keeping it in the or maybe the dude owns lots of maximum securities, prisons. So we have Omaha Beach. I'm just like, that's a little odd.
Okay, got some World War II thing going on.
Yeah, got some World War II thing. Maybe the horse was French. Maybe he was born in France and got shipped overseas. You have Master Fencer. That's definitely a rich thing.
I shall name him Master Fencer, sir.
You also have Win-Win-Win.
Okay, that's a gambler.
Or it's DJ Khaled.
Yeah, right.
DJ
All we did was
Khaled.
win.
Is there any other? Is that what I think it is? Body Express. Bodie Express.
Like Bodie Miller.
No, never mind. Oh my gosh. So that's pretty much a summary of what the names are. So you'll know what's going on when you hear these, like when you hear Win-Win-Win or Code of Honor or Omaha Beach or anything. Is there any ones that stood out to you that I mentioned that's just off the wall? He's looking at the list, ladies and gentlemen, checking it over once or twice.
Yeah, no, not really. They all seem pretty tame to me. I mean, there's nothing extremely
that I haven't mentioned. This one seems like a plus. What is that? Plus
K parfait.
Plus K parfait.
Yeah, no.
It looks pretty Hispanic on just on the article.
Yeah, spin off. No. Long range toddy is interesting. Okay. I'll take a long range toddy, please.
Oh, too fun.
I mean, so the Kentucky is Kentucky Derby, right?
Yeah,
What's interesting is
they
they all come out and wear their hats and their stuff, and it's like,
I'm rich.
Have you ever been to this part of Kentucky? It's like nice.
Yeah, it is nice there in Louisville. So that's it. That is the names of the horses that are in the Kentucky Derby. And I think I was listening somewhere to some national radio, or I think it might have been a national podcast, that said this is like these next 3 weeks are the only time of the year where we actually care about horse racing.
Right.
We'll forget it during football season. We'll forget about it during the middle of basketball season. But it's like,
or the next day.
right? Or the next day, or when your Dubs close out that series against Houston.
Oh yeah.
You'll forget who won the Kentucky Derby. This year, though, we have witnessed in our lifetime a horse win the Grand Slam.
Okay.
The Kentucky Derby Preakness.
No, you mean the triple
Triple Crown.
crown,
Yes, we did witness that last year.
Right. Nice.
Yeah, when you showed me around your secret society. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, with that is our show for today. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment. Let's get your thoughts on the Kentucky Derby or these names or the stuff Mike talked about or whatever's on your mind sports-wise. We'd love to hear it here at the ATL Box Score. So be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. And I know in this show we left you a lot of stuff that you could probably comment at. So go add it in the comment section. And I'm glad you could hang out with us today. Me and Steve. I'm Alex Berger. This is Steve Choi joining me. And we also had Mike Brumagin come on talking some NBA